think there's a danger, especially with generative AI, to just make the horse faster. But the value isn't just in optimizing, the value is in rethinking how we do things.
Welcome to Avanade's groundbreaking video series, Imagine What You Will Do with AI.
Once you have the challenge of developing faster, which is a really common thing in the modern world that we live in, the ability to actually help those developers do that is second to none.
We're going to sit with our clients at Fireside Chat and talk about what are their key AI transformation journey projects.
Microsoft Fabric, and then on top of that, leveraging the power of RAG.
It's a game changer.
It's been a monster of a game changer.
We delve into the profound impact of artificial intelligence across various industries, businesses, and individual ambitions.
We're going to talk about risk and security and see where they are on the path to AI transformation.
You talked about POC purgatory.
Yeah, I mean, last year globally, 90% of POCs for generative AI didn't leave the POC phase. They didn't go into production.
We uncover how AI is revolutionizing industries, reshaping and re-envisioning business strategies, and fueling innovation.
That's going to be interesting speaking to our guests over the next number of weeks.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Hello and welcome to Avanade's Imagine What You Will Do with AI video series. We're going to be talking to our guests over the next number of episodes about the real-world journey on AI transformation. My name is Paul Gilbride.
And I'm Katharine Paffett. So let's kick this off, Paul. It's been a galactic year and a half. The rate of technological progression has almost outpaced Moore's law. What's been the most significant moment for you? And I'm also very happy for you to fire back the question to me as well afterwards.
And I definitely will. The question is perfect because I think it's probably one of the most important questions over the year has been the rapid nature of change. From what I've seen from the data perspective, for sure, has been the advancements of the likes of Microsoft Fabric launched in November. It's been truly transformative. And then on top of that, leveraging the power of RAG, which is a way to connect your own data into these amazing Copilot models.
Total game changer.
It's been a monster of a game changer. And it just has, in the past 12 months, allowed people to really see what it is generative AI can do for their organization. But from your side, I know you're really kind of focused on the AI transformation across our organization. Some of the key things you've seen.
So if we're focusing on the last year and a half, the obvious one is that AI has been wholly democratized because we have a universal interface now, which is natural language. Anyone can use AI, and that still just absolutely stuns me. I think this year what has really excited me is when Microsoft launched the Phi-3 models in collaboration with, in partnership with OpenAI, because I think SLMs or small language models will be a total game changer, particularly for the small and mid-market kind of companies. I mean, obviously smaller language models are much easier to train, fine-tune, deploy. They work well on devices like mobiles with limited processing power. Code bases are smaller, so they make you less vulnerable to attacks. And they're cheaper. So I'm very excited just to watch that space a little bit more closely as well.
And it's what's been really interesting is when we look at the journey of the Microsoft Cloud, as an example, and Avanade being at the forefront of that. Our connection into the product group very much is started with the advent of Copilot, the movement towards Azure OpenAI, and as you say, with those small language models and even the larger language models, the ability to customize.
Oh, yes.
Like it's a phenomenal change in the rate of transformation is when you can point it toward your own data.
I think so too, and I love the progression that looking at our clients and talking to colleagues and clients. I love the progression that first of all, organizations like our organization as well, we start off by kind of familiarizing ourselves with this technology with an off-the-shelf generative AI product like M365 Copilot, for instance. I think they say that now Microsoft's released a study where if you use it for 11 weeks, then you actually start to be more efficient by 11 minutes per day, but you need to actually use it for a little bit before you see that payoff. But anyway, fun fact. It's just interesting to see how our clients, first of all, they start off by actually familiarizing themselves, as I said, with the technology, with a kind of off-the-shelf Gen AI product, and then start connecting it to their data and their company processes, whether that's Jira or ServiceNow, and start, as you say, actually capitalizing on their master data. And then lastly, actually think about domain reinvention, reinventing the wheel, not just making the horse faster, and start thinking about custom co-pilots and kind of re-envisioning their processes, which is, I think that's where the value lies. And from what
Absolutely.
I'm seeing so far, that's what I'm getting very excited about.
You might give us a little kind of a sense of some of the common challenges around AI use cases specifically and what you're seeing.
Yes, I'd be delighted, Paul. So I was speaking earlier on about some of my conversations with our clients, CDOs, also just leafing through MIT Sloan the other day. 46% of CDOs currently say that the blockers for them for scaling their AI ambition, as Gartner calls it, are primarily around finding the right use case, data. So I'll circle back to you in a second there. And obviously also around, privacy, security, responsible AI. I'm really passionate about responsible AI. And I remember, when was it? We did a study a while ago, and it actually revealed that 48% of organizations actually don't have a complex, complete set of specific guidelines or policies for responsible AI. And one of the things I was most impressed about when I joined Avanade was how we actually really live our responsible AI principles in practice. So it's compulsory that you do responsible AI training when you join Avanade. We've also got tooling in place. We've got our AI control tower, for instance, which actually allows you to create and manage your organization's policies, regulations in a single dashboard. You can cross-reference the use cases according to risk, check them out with your organization's policies and regulations, upload all to the tool, and also just compare the use cases across your organization's responsible AI framework. So that's one of the challenges. How do we actually live our responsible AI principles? How do we engage with this technology in a responsible and ethical way? So I'm really encouraged the way Avanade is internally actually rolling out the tooling here, finding the right use case. So we have a delivery approach called AI Transformation Studio, where we go to our client with a multidisciplinary team, and we spend 2 to 4 weeks just refining, creating that use case backlog before we even start piloting anything. I think with regard to data, I would just throw that back at you, actually. I mean, you know me, I also spent 4 years at Microsoft in partnerships. So I very much believe in this ecosystem economy that we can only really scale together. I guess realize our AI ambition together. So that's why we at Avanade are obviously partnering up with companies like Databricks, like Prophecy for master data management, for instance, just so we can really get our data house in order. But let's hand this over to the data and AI expert.
It is a really fascinating landscape. I mean, you talked previously about a brilliant word, term, phrase, which was POC purgatory.
Yeah, I mean, last year, 90% of POCs didn't, globally, 90% of POCs for generative AI didn't leave the POC phase. They didn't go into production.
And I think that's what we're going to see when we speak to our guests over these episodes, is the fact that fantastic opportunity, but not always realized because of the likes of not having the correct operating model about how you do it. So the AI Transformation Studio is one of our kind of leading models of how you can actually transform your organization from governance strategy, leveraging the likes of not just Fabric or Microsoft Cloud, Databricks, as you mentioned, master data management or Prophecy. It's the ecosystem which we can help bring to our organizations and our clients. And we'll speak to our guests about what their journey is like with that.
I think also, again, talking to clients and even peers, one of the challenges also is just, how do we get started? Yeah, how do we actually start to actually engage with this technology? And I think the Transformation Studio, as you said, it also allows you to get quite hands-on quite quickly, and then going back to that kind of POC limbo or POC purgatory that particularly last year we saw quite a lot of, even on a global scale. using something like the Transformation Studio is quite useful when you can actually leverage our managed services arm. So, provide the client with a production environment, because I mean, again, that's one of the challenges quite often is, how are we actually going to take this into production if we don't have the resources, if we don't have the compute, if we don't have that kind of operating model engine behind.
And it was only November that Microsoft Fabric was released. November.
And that's quite special for you, isn't it? So tell me a little bit more about that.
The week Fabric was officially in GA was the week I joined.
Wow.
Avanade. Yeah, phenomenal. And it's been a journey since then. I mean, it feels like an awful lot longer than 9 months. I'd love to tell a little story about one of our customers. If I could. Yeah,
please.
And the reason I wanted to kind of explain this story or talk to it is it's going to be one of our guests we're going to have on the episode. But what I found was it encapsulated the client journey, but also the Avanade journey. So Avanade, as you know, we've a breadth of solution areas from business applications, modern workplace, security, apps and infra.
I mean, we just cover the whole Microsoft stack.
And from left to right, we actually replicate essentially Microsoft's whole ecosystem of product offerings. So to do that, we obviously have a wraparound, which is advisory and Avanade X. So advisory from your data strategy, your governance, but you're also your strategic move into this area. But
change management.
Change management is a huge part of Copilot as an example. Absolutely. And the Avanade X is about that experience, because change management also brings the idea that if you want to affect change properly, you must bring the customer on the journey, and you must bring the experience of this new technology to not be frightening, but actually be really helpful. So the journey, I'm going to slightly just give you a 60-second quick tour on.
Tenterhooks.
Yes. It was an energy organization looking to leverage the power of AI, but also knowing that they had a migration of ERP from on-premise to the cloud, Microsoft Cloud. As part of that, they needed to leverage the data in a quicker way than simply just moving it bit by bit. The project could have been 2 years long. So we leveraged Microsoft Fabric in that case. So straight away we were biz apps mixed with data and AI. And as part of that, we evolved into, well, okay, now we have our data in Microsoft Fabric. What else could we do? So we met on a workshop. It was an AI workshop. Collectively, we all came together with the wonderful
And
Avanade
who was
X team.
in that workshop from the client side?
So
which stakeholders?
really important actual question, because stakeholders on that particular day were operational. So we had the head of trading, we had the head of residential customers, we had the MD of the organization, we had operational elements, administrative, and data and AI. So we kind of had the gambit.
So you had both the business and the technical decision makers, because again, it's much more about that multidisciplinary team when we're engaging with these types of technologies now, isn't it? Yep.
And it's do you know what? The questions were different because of that. And the answers were different. And together they combined into a very clear understanding of what the objective was. So we got into the workshop and we talked about what was the business value here. Right, so we kind of stepped away slightly from the technology value. We went to the business value, and from their side, there was value in trading and being able to actually make those calls sooner, but also risk propensity around about customer churn, around how they potentially can spot that ahead of time. So obviously, with the likes of machine learning and generative AI, how can we leverage that? We got into that workshop after about 2 hours. We had fashioned a very clear strategy for how they could take that data, come up with a really strong governance data strategy to allow them not just to do this one use case, but every use case. And then from there, it was how could we actually leverage apps and infra? So how could we build an interface, deploy it into teams?
Really a resilient digital core.
So we were then across 4 different solution areas. And then naturally enough, it came down to governance, it came down to master data management, it came down to security and risk. Because the idea was to excite with all of the possibilities of AI, which was the Avanade X, it's the advisory piece coming together, but then bringing it to another level with ensuring that security is in play, the technology is there to do it.
And I think it's also with security, it's about kind of shifting left over that whole development cycle. So really actually living DevSecOps and making sure that security is actually ingrained from the beginning in our offerings. And it's also quite a shift that I've seen as well, and talking to clients.
When we have the Copilot conversation, more often than not, one of the things that really rises, I've mentioned this previously, but security Copilot for security to help you help you faster find the challenges that are out there from a SOC perspective. But also, one of the key areas as well that always jumped out was the application development. And I keep coming back to it because it always seems to be one of the things that really rises to the top is once you have the challenge of developing faster, which is a really common thing in the modern world that we live in, the ability to actually help those developers do that is second to none. But it all comes back, I guess, to how you approach it. It's the operating model. It's the manage it evolve. It's the AI transformation studio. From that, I know that one of the key things you're new to Avanade maybe as I am.
I'm still quite fresh as well.
The disrupt piece must have been a really interesting thing to walk in and see. What's been your perspective on it?
It is. So if I just kind of go back a little bit, I think what attracted me to Avanade was just, I thought, we're in this era of such technological speed and complexity. And I think Avanade is an organization that really just gets hands-on from the start, engages with this technology, and is also looking around the corner. So there's this phrase, Sam Altman used it a while ago in an interview. He was talking about startups and saying that the startups that have the best chance right now are the startups that are actually designing their products not on the status quo right now, so not on what we have in terms of technology now, but what we'll have in terms of technology in 6 months' time. And the startups that actually design their products with what we've got in terms of tech right now are the startups that will wear a T-shirt saying, OpenAI killed my startup. And it's kind of how I view Avanade, that we're always looking around the corner at what's coming next, and not necessarily designing our solutions for our clients or even our internal processes and what we have now. We're very much looking around the corner. And we have internally, we have the Disrupt program, and it's part of our Centre for AI, which really explores transformational solutions and doesn't just try and, I think there's a danger, especially with generative AI, to just make the horse faster, just to make things more efficient. But it's not, obviously, the value isn't just in optimizing. The value is in also kind of re-envisioning processes or rethinking how we do things, totally re-envisioning our organization. And this program is actually really focused on that end-to-end transformation. Currently, we're re-envisioning talent acquisition, for instance, to actually drive innovation across this function. So that kind of permeates to the rest of the organization. I think that's just the mindset you have to have. We've also really thought about our knowledge management as an organization. That's one of our key focus areas. We've got a dedicated team under the leadership of our CIO, Ron, which again, and it's another initiative that in this case actually extends beyond the Disrupt program, but it's aiming to kind of redefine how we do things, and in this context actually redefine how we capture, share, utilize, and I guess spread our knowledge across the organization. And I think that's really the key, looking around the corner, looking ahead, not just basing or designing our solutions on what's available now, looking around the corner and also thinking, how do we actually re-envision our company processes? How do we actually do things totally differently?
And that's been one of the most refreshing things, is that Disrupt piece. There's a lovely Einstein saying, which is, if you have 16 minutes to save the world, spend 50 minutes figuring out what the problem is.
Oh,
and there is a
I will use that.
Yeah. The Disrupt thing is
that.
really about that. We really are seeped in the Microsoft stack from an Avanade perspective, and the Disrupt function has really helped change that from not only re-envisioning, reimagining, but it's taking all of our skills as a group and helping our clients. And that's going to be interesting, speaking to our guests over the next number of weeks.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Some of the interesting questions I'm looking to pose to our guests over the next number of weeks will be, what's it like on the ground? What has been your real challenge? Is it talent? As you talked about talent, leveraging AI to from a recruitment perspective alone has been a massive transition. Is it technology? Is it business? Is it the use case? Processes. What are some of the winning teams you're seeing right now?
Fantastic question. I would say, based on our learnings internally, but also at clients, probably first of all, assess your maturity level and your ambition and work accordingly towards that. So, for instance, you can begin with efficiency gains and progressively move towards something more transformational as your capabilities mature. So we touched upon, for instance, familiarizing your employees, first of all, with the Gen AI off-the-shelf products like M365 Copilot, for instance, and then moving from there. Focus on value measurement. So value should be measured beyond efficiency. Agile security, we already touched upon that, but really shifting left, really living DevSecOps. We were talking a little bit about looking into the future before, and I think it's going to be very important to actually really explore agentic AI, particularly because it just has that potential to actually not only revolutionize task automation, but also decision making, as I said, autonomous actions, and really represents part of the future of AI innovation. And then lastly, I would say implement a robust build or buy framework. So as that technology is actually evolving, it's really essential to continuously assess whether to adopt out-of-the-box solutions. So we talked about, as I said, M365 Copilot, or leveraging low-code platforms, or develop custom solutions. I guess when you're looking, because you're very hands-on at clients right now, which industry are you actually seeing the greatest amount of activity in AI transformation currently? Can you actually generalize there?
We can, and certainly would say that, I would say that pretty much every industry we've come across the last 12 months, it's across all ranges of industry.
Mm-hmm.
The one where we've probably seen the greatest amount of advancement and activity is the one where speed of decision making is probably the most important, which would be in the financial sector, private equity / mergers and acquisitions, M&A. It is very much a place that benefits from speed of decision making. So from a due diligence perspective,
I was going to say, I remember doing due diligence as a junior and all that.
it's such an important part to get all of the information on a company, not just the information that you get through traditional brokerage, but also the information that you get from the marketplace, and pulling that together to make the decisions on due diligence, and the information about that organization. But also beyond that, it's about how you actually bring that organization into your wider structure, and the speed at which we need to modernize data platforms, merge, integrate systems. Often there'll be disparate data sources that we need to get the information from. So the overall process of how a company is merged to another organization requires a significant amount of technology changes as well. Katharine, that was amazing. Thank you so much for your time today.
I feel really energized after that. Thanks for your time as well.
It was a brilliant insight into the Avanade world, and please do join us as part of our video series. We're going to be interviewing guests over the next number of weeks, finding out what the real world AI transformation journey looks like with Avanade and beyond.